So you can possibly. So I saw oh, really? I was like, there. Your original idea is not original. Girls, why were you it's a matter of you're right. Let's really go there. Down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't even look like that. I know. Like that. That's like. Yes. Have you seen students they had 9 months. I was in maybe every time. I almost did that.
I asked you to since we have bond, beginning of her presentation, we have bond committees. I asked her to libraries that are going to be advocating and I y'all. It's a guys
yeah, I mean, we're kind of making sure that they've read our procedure and the memo and everything, so they understand what they need. And then, yeah. Well, and
there may be a better process than those I would.
Well, and definitely separating it. I mean, I think the way we've been doing concepts, we got this one project, new project. And when that's done, then we might be. I'm not trying to like combine them.
I just want to make sure if I still need to refer to you or just go straight to Mary Kay, I'll just.
Yeah.
Great thing with Dare County. We learned a lot. Yeah. From the in 2012. 2024. Yeah. So one of the things that I had asked for, because I use
like. I think you have to stand. I think so too.
I think you both need your hands.
There you go.
You look so good.
Don't let them get away with that.
Are you in the right screen today? So I can.
I am now. Let's see if it works.
People are adding in,
They're joining us.
they're joining. It's exciting to because it's cataloging and it's finance. And everybody needs to see this. It's like, this is very exciting. You all better make it exciting. I'm sorry.
We call it the Liz and Kate show.
That's right.
And we're good cop, bad cop. We look forward to this every year.
It's going in.
I'll go through, yeah.
It's like the rest
Thank you. Everybody's a little slap happy.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got moved at the very end. I was like, we're already talking about probably,
But cataloging, it will be fun.
we're already doing maybe the most boring part. We're at the very end, so.
How about animals? We have that.
We are Muppet Top, Bad Cop.
Muppet faces. Oh. So I'm Kate Coleman, I'm from Jefferson.
Oh, yeah. We're introducing ourselves. Yeah, I'm Kate Coleman. I'm the chair of the catalog. For Missouri Evergreen. I mean, I've been very quiet today, so I don't know who I am.
On behalf of the Kate and Liz show, I'm Liz, I'm the Consortium Cataloger.
It's the Liz and Kate show, not the Kate and Liz show.
Two of them make one competent, we even made you a content screen. So we're talking about authorities, authority records and cataloging. I know you're on bated breath at the end of your seats, I'm sorry. We get asked about this a lot, so this is why that. Oh, we're gonna talk about it a little bit. LCG. Okay, so authority record. What does that mean? So an authority record comes from a control vocabulary. Liz, what's a control vocabulary? Well, it's a list of terms that have been chosen as the way to look something up. So out of all these terms, there's one thing that takes you back. So which thesaurus? Thesaurus? Brontosaurus? I don't know. So in Missouri Evergreen, we use Library of Congress subject headings, which acronyms LCSH. And of course, for our genres, we use LCGFT or Library of Congress.
Genre
Form term. Yeah, there we go. Acronyms everywhere. So there are many different types of vocabularies. So if you're in a medical library, you could be using obviously the medical vocabulary. Music people have their own. We use these specifically, so that's why we talk about them all the time and repeat those acronyms 500 times.
So throughout this, we will, I tend to use the term AAP, which is an authorized access point, because that is the term for a name, a subject heading, a genre heading. It's all of it encompassed into one instead of a name authority and a subject heading authority and all of that. Altogether, the generalization is called an AAP. So why does authority control matter? Because a lot of you are like, I don't know what authority control is, but it's one of the main tenets of cataloging. Authority control is an infrastructure that allows for efficient and effective library cataloging searching. So these kind of outline what it is, but the main thing that I always tell people, my favorite word is discoverability. So authority control means that when I have a patron that is there and wants to look up not just dogs, but husky dogs, you know, that it is our job as catalogers to use the authorized terms for that. That also means that I can't just make up terms because it's I want it to be black and white dogs, you know, that's not a thing. There you have a set list of things. Now granted, it's tens of thousands of things, probably millions of words, you know, but it is a set thesauri of what we can use. Because we want our patrons to be able to everything that they want our search results to retrieve everything that is applicable to their search, you know, so It also reduces ambiguity, meaning that, again, discoverability. We want all of these things to go to the right records that our patrons are looking for. And it helps with collection management. You know, one of the things that you might do is you might do a search to see how many things you have on Husky dogs or something like that. You know, if you have things that are well cataloged and using your correct authority terms, then you can see where potentially you need to expand your collection. And it's good cataloging. It's like the best cataloging. So.
Okay. So types of authority records. So when we talk about this, we have name authorities. So my example, I always use Stephen King. How do we know which Stephen King is the one who wrote Carrie, who lives in Maine, who got hit by a car, who's also in a band? Well, his authority record. And if you catalog for a while, you know he's Stephen King 1947. You just remember that then. But otherwise, if you look up Stephen King, there's like 100 of them. So the authority record is what takes you to Stephen King 1947, and when you click on that, you get all of his works. You get The Sandlot, you get his movies, you get all of that. So you can also have, let's see, a corporate name, okay? So like the Department of Ag, or Morned. Okay, of course, we have meeting names. That's probably the one I would say we use the least. You can see that's probably going to be more on government documents. And then of course we have geographic names. So Columbia, Missouri. How do we know it's the Columbia, this Columbia in Missouri? Well, it's authority record. We also have name title, which people will be familiar with from, I lost the word, series statements in a record. So I love this series. I'm going to plug A Lockwood Company by Jonathan Stroud. It's YA. All of his books, if you put that in the 800 from his authority, you click that, they're all supposed to come up. And then of course we have, you know, like William Shakespeare, Macbeth. If we have all this stuff about Macbeth, how do we get it all? I want the play, I want the criticism, I want whatever. Again, the authority record. And then of course, uniform titles. If anyone has ever cataloged the Bible, you know. You know. It has a title that's actually 47 words long. Blah, 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 the version of the version of the version. But how do we all get them grouped together? Because if you put in the Bible, just Bible, you know how many things are going to come up? Because stuff is like, oh, the Cato Bible. Yeah, no, like the Bible. That's how we use the uniform title, and grouping them all together, then you're going to get all of the Bibles. Let's see, let's move on. Subjects. Subjects are probably the ones that people are most familiar with. Those are the ones in the 600s, specifically 650s. We always write about you have to have at least 3 650s. What does that mean? We want you to have at least 3 subjects on your record so that patrons know what the things are about, and they link together and take us all the Husky dogs, or dog, or dachshund. Yeah. All right. I also always like to throw in the genre form term. Now, they're not exactly the same as authorities, but I always lump them together because it's a controlled vocabulary and it's right down there anyway. So genre form terms. Your genre form terms when you're doing cataloging is what your thing is. So we have a book about Huskies, okay, or a book about, I don't know, Lockwood and Company, the Lockwood and Company series. It is a book. The genre would be probably paranormal fiction. That's going to be, it is paranormal fiction. It's about ghosts. Okay, so on here, you'll see it's linked out if anyone wants to push the button. If you are feeling very spicy, you can go and read the introduction to the genre informed, which is helpful if you are new to cataloging. Is also one of those things that will probably make you want to poke at your eye. So at your own discretion. So Liz, I got asked this today in an email. How do I look up authorities? Well, we recommend going to 2 different places. Confusingly, they're both considered the Library of Congress. However, the websites, how they look and function are completely different. So these are linked out.
Yeah, we should try to click through. The pictures are linked.
Okay, I'm gonna have to reset the share. Hang on a second.
It opens it up in a new window.
I wondered about that. I remember that from last year.
We'll remember next year.
While he's pulling that up, I have a question. So, Rogan sends out these monthly authority update emails. What is actually happening with what he does?
We're doing the same thing we did with Diane's presentation. We're gonna talk about that.
that's right. Just trying to get the middle of the wall.
Yeah, but since we're kind of waiting, something that Liz said about the Bible, that kind of harkens back to our conversation we had with Aspen with all of the, where the red fern grows, that, Sean says will make everybody cry.
It will.
So, that it has an authorized, 240 or 140, and that's what lumps them all together. That's what makes them all, if we wanted Aspen to lump them all together, they would have to have that matching authority record that goes across all of them, that, like, her, example was the Shakespeare Macbeth one, if we have that correct authority term in there, then Aspen knows to aggregate all of that information into that one, federated search.
All right, so this is one option for looking up authorities. Now, if you ask me, Liz, which one do you use? I literally use both every single day. Because when you're looking things up, they give you slightly different information. It's presented to you in a different way. Some are just easier to read in one form than the other. So this one, I mistakenly keep calling the Angel website because they're both library content. She's not an angel. I have no idea what she is. But this is what one interface will look like. It looks slightly older, obviously, like it hasn't been, I don't know, as updated, but all the authorities are updated, so that's one option. And this is obviously the one they keep looking fancy, right, directly out of the LOC, and this is all the linked data services. And so you can use this site as well, or both.
I will say that Liz and I have both agreed that if you're looking up genre terms, this linked data site is much better than the old school authority website. I, like Liz, use these every day as catalogers. I don't care how long you've been cataloging, these are the websites you couldn't use every day. I mean, there's millions of authority records, you're not gonna remember them all, so I look up stuff every single day. So these are invaluable websites for sure.
I love how this whole conversation is about how to make things the same. They have two different.
Right? It's all about consistency, and even they can't be consistent.
Yeah. All right, so next slide. Okay, so when you look up an authority record, it's scary in there. It pulls up and you're like, okay, there's a lot of junk going on here, especially when you get to look at these 400. That's not English. That's not English there. Okay, so reading an authority record is like, it's as important as looking it up. You have to be able to read it. So if I'm looking up King Thomas Stephen and I find 1947, how am I confirming that's the guy who wrote Carrie and got hit by a car in Maine and is in a band? Well, in his authority record, you see all of these, they have places he's associated with. So like he was born in Maine, that's gonna be in his record. Things he's known to do. So he writes horror fiction. He's been like a producer in a movie. And then of course you have the C from tracing. And those are, if he's known by anything else, if he has a nickname or his name in 47 other languages. And then of course, C also. Now those are related and they say, hey, you looked him up, but do you mean this person? Because we know Richard Bachman, right? And Beryl Evans, they're actually both also Stephen King. Those are pen names. Okay, so get familiar with this. Also, he's in the Rock Bottom Remainders. If people didn't know, he's in a band with a bunch of other authors.
Yeah, Annie Tan.
Annie Tan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun fact.
Screamo that.
I wish.
That would have been awesome.
And you'll probably if you're a cataloger, you recognize this as marked format,
Yes.
and the The field numbers, of course, are different than an actual bibliographic record, but so the 100 is associated with the 100 in a bid record. And so they kind of match each other type of situation.
When we're talking about this, when you see the 100 listed here, it says, King Thomas Stephen 1947. We expect that in the 100, right? When he has written the book, he has authored the book. Okay, but what if we have a book written about him? What if we have a biography?
600.
It's 600. You literally just change the first digit. You keep the indicators on the end even the same. You move it down to where he would become the subject. Okay?
If he was an added author, he wrote it with someone, he's a
700. Yay. Okay. All right, I'm going to put in one other thing. Liz talks about all the time. I would say scope note, scope data. And people look at me like I have two different heads. That's basically like a little description in there explaining the thing. So what is the husky dog? And it's gonna be like, oh, it's a dog that kind of looks like this and it's blah, blah, blah. Because if I don't know, how can I assign the heading? And this doesn't seem like it is very important when you're talking about husky dogs, but trust me, when you're in an academic library and they're like molecular blah, 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 you need a scope note. So.
And also sometimes if you have an author that has a database and they're not as popular as Stephen King, you do need that stuff because it's like, oh, they're a travel writer. So you know that this is the guy that wrote this travel book, even though he has the same name as 5 other authors.
So here we are again, we're back with this one is a time. So I did soft drinks. I've been talking about wanting Pepsi all day. Here we are. C from tracing, drinks, soft, okay. Pop, soda pop, sodas. And then of course on subjects, these are great. You have broader headings. So if you have a book about, soft drinks, beverages is also, there's one of your 650, there's 2 down. You just need 1 more. And then C also narrower headings. So it's a soda, it's a soft drink, but what kind? Oh, look, Mountain Dew.
Does anybody know what Iron Brew is?
No,
It's like a neon orange Irish beverage.
Iron Brew is Scottish. Is it
Scottish.
Is it carbonated?
Yeah. It's like just sugar. Just sugar.
All right, and of course, I am from St. Genevieve County, so I use that one. This is a place. So places. Of course, you're gonna have to have an authority for these too, obviously, because look at the C from tracing. St. Genevieve spelled out, St. Genevieve not spelled out, Missouri. If you're Google, you say Sweet Genevieve, but that's a whole different story. And then the 781, if you're using a geographic heading and you want to use it as a subdivision, there it is. It does it for you.
Remember this example for when I talk a little bit later, St. Genevieve and how it's abbreviated and not abbreviated and all of that. Oh, it's my turn. Okay, well, because we're gonna talk about other things that aren't generally generalized authority stuff. So does anyone have questions for Liz and I about just what authorities are, how they work, why they're important, what we do with them?
Look them up. I have to look those authorities every day. I mean, when I come across a Stephen King book, I know that's him because I've cataloged a long time. James Patterson. You know when you're doing romances, man-woman relationships, but if you do not recognize that heading from like, oh, I see that every single day, look it up, every single one. It's you.
You've been told.
So when you say you're using both websites, and I don't think colors, but say you're looking up an author, on one of the Angel website.
Look what you've done.
And you find them, are you then looking it up on the other website?
No.
Why are you using both?
They're giving you the same information, but it is presented differently.
Okay.
So if we could click out of this, I'd show you, but basically on one, it is going to be very laid out in a mark, like with the fields and everything. You're gonna see, oh, all these weird numbers, whatever. The other one strips that mark out, but still gives you the same information. So it's just presented in a different way. Some people like the
It's
one.
personal
some-
preference.
It's
It's
preference,
personal.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
And also that dang Angel website, it goes down so often. You do one search and then it does not want to do another search. I don't know what it is. Library of Congress needs to get with it. So oftentimes, even though I prefer the Angel website, I will have to go to the Link Data website because it's working better. So Katie brought this up, about the stuff that Rogan emails us as catalogers every month, about, what's this stuff mean? So we do have a third party authority, vendor that sweeps our catalog and, makes it all pretty. We hope. So it does, we have two main things that it does. And, we want to thank Missouri Evergreen for doing this, because we didn't used to have authority, anything about authority, and it's pricey, so thank you all for paying for it along with us. But, I know that non-catalogers are like, this is ridiculous, and why am I paying for this? It's necessary, just believe me, your patrons, thank you. So the Markite works for us in two stages. So, every time a new bid record is brought into our system, it goes through the overnight authorities. This does include, when we have a migrating library in. So all 200,000 or whatever of their bid records, hopefully not that many, hopefully more of them are matching. They count as new authority records, so they will go through this process as well. When MLC comes on and they bring all of their bids on, they will run through this, when they get loaded in. So what does it do every night? It does three main things. So, it adds, it does RDA conversion. So if it doesn't have it, it puts those 3F6 fields in that every, item should have, regardless of its format. Markite does that for us every night if they're not present. It adds our, web file and, advanced reader, what are the levels or scores? Yeah. To the 521 field for children's stuff. So, this is often something that we don't do, because, we would have had to look it up if it's not right on the book or whatever, so every children's book that comes in, and when I say every, this is, it's not foolproof, it's not gonna, you're gonna come across items that, Markite didn't give or whatever, but it's supposed to put all of those Lexile scores and AR scores in there as well, which, if we have any children's librarians in here, they religiously use this stuff, your schools come in and they need, their kid needs to read a book at this level or whatever, so these are keyword searchable. And then of course, the main thing that it does is, every AAP in a bid record, it's running through Library of Congress authorities, and it's making sure that, this might be, let's see, if it was misspelled, or if something was wrong with it, or, and even if it is correct, it's still going in and checking it, just to make sure it's correct. And, if it needs changed, it changes it, and the incorrect one is gone. And, so it just goes in there and mines everything out and it cleans it up and puts it right back in. Well, with caveats, because and maybe Jennifer can help a little bit, but from my understanding, because this is, every night we get the file of what is new, but we load it once a month. We load those new bids once a month, and that's where our report that we get from Rogan comes in every month. So Markite has added this many authority records, and it's deleted this many wrong ones, so normally it's a couple thousand that get added and even more that get deleted, and you can kind of see those numbers, and you can see, and again, those monthly numbers that we get from Rogan, those are just brand new bid records that have come into our system. So if we have 2,000 authority records that were added and 5,000 that were deleted, that's great. We have 5,000 unauthorized access points that are out of there that, should not be in our catalog.
Stay here for a second. Okay, so guys, does this mean that, it's listed on the book that this is for ages 6 to 9? I don't have to list that because this is gonna go through Markite overnight. No, you still have to list that. This is not magic.
No.
So it's helpful, but it's not taking away your work. You still just have to. You just, and if you're, say, with just King, Stephen on Harry and don't include the 1947, even if that runs through Markeye, it doesn't know
Right,
that is the Stephen King that was hit by a car and is in a van, and yada, yada, yada. So it's not just magic that happened, you still have to do the legwork. But for your 650s, it will say, if you have black and white dogs, juvenile section, if that's a redirect to Huskies, it will put in Huskies if that is the authorized heading.
that 400, see also where that tracing is that is in the actual authority record, it's looking at that and changing it to that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sorry, question. So like when we go through and change a record, we're supposed to put our special code on there, so it knows. And it was coming back on. But so when this happens, is it also tagging the record to know that, so that when we look at it, we know whether or not it's been
Well,
dealt with?
you see this down here, Markeye 2023, Markeye 2024.
Gotcha.
So, but that is the next stage of what we're doing. This isn't the every month we do things. We do something else even better quarterly. Are you done with this one? Okay. Okay, so the comprehensive authorities notification service is the overnight authority on steroids. Okay, this is I was under the impression that we did this annually, but I was very happy to hear, I talked to Mark Guy this week, and they said, actually, you guys do it quarterly. And according to Rogan, he's like, I don't care, we can run this as many times as we want, you know, but within reason, you know what I mean? So it does all of the things that the overnight one does, but also what it's doing, it reprocesses, again, this is quarterly, this is not every night. All of our bibliographic records are full database against Library of Congress authorities. So things that aren't new, they have our original files from when we came into Markeye, and I did check this and we're good. We had some confusion with Markeye whether this was actually happening, and we got to the bottom of it. But so they have our original back file when all of us, we gave them our catalog and said, okay, we want you to service us. We want you to be our authority servicer. So they have that, and then they also have every single overnight that we've ever had since then. So they take all of that, all how many ever big records we have, I don't know, 4 point something million. And it runs it through this process again. But also, when we came into Markeye, we said, hey, we want you to kind of clean up our database too. We want you to take out junk tags. We want you to check our GMDs. Does anybody remember what GMDs are? Because we don't really use them anymore. But,
You'll be removing a lot of shit. I'm sorry.
but also something to remember, it only removes GMDs that are cataloged correctly. So if you just have them in the A subfield and they're not in their own D subfield, is it D? I don't even remember anymore.
H.
H, yeah. If they're cataloged correctly, it'll take that H out. It looks at non-violent characters in initial articles. So-
It's really okay.
We've seen some things.
So we got a list of things that we would like for it to look at when we brought our whole catalog in. And we're lucky enough that when we send this big file in every quarter, that it also does this too. Now, as all of us know who are in our catalog every day, you know, it's not fail proof because it's supposed to take out one of the big things. It's supposed to take out the FAST and ISAC and MESH and Sears and all of that. It's supposed to take out those headings that we don't use because we only use
LC, NC, LCGFTs.
But that's kind of where it becomes apparent that, you know, it can't do it all. But it's supposed to do all of this but again, don't count on it. If you bring in a record that's got all of these, you know, fast 650s, delete them. Don't count on this quarterly to do it for you. We don't use fast headings, we don't use BISAC headings, you need to delete them when they're brought in. And that's when that 904 Markeye is added.
Does it also take care of the juvenile subject headings during the process?
It actually does, that's one of the things it does, it changes the indicators and changes the C field or the X field. Yeah, so. Any more questions about this? Okay. Okay.
We're ready.
I'm looking at Jennifer here.
Ready. We're ready.
Okay, Missouri Evergreen authority functionality. Let's talk about the good stuff first. Something that I have come across in a lot of our catalog regional trainings is that people don't know that we have a validate button. And stupid me, I can't. You can't see the validate button. The only place you can see it, which, as catalogers, we know we have two interfaces that we use. We have the, or enhanced editor and flat field editor, yeah. Flat text, thank you. Most of us, we use flat text editor, yeah, but you should always be clicking over into enhanced because that's the easiest way to edit your fixed fields. And also, it's the only place that validate button comes up. Did I really not put an example of? That's again. So I wish that I had put an example in here, I'm sorry. So you hit that validate button and what it's gonna do is there is a green check mark or a red X if it's authorized, if it's gone through our authority file and it's good. There are some caveats to that, but it's a great place to start if you're, you need to check your authorities, you know, if you run the validator and Stephen King, 1947, you know, is that right? Has the green check mark, then you don't need to go out and look, you know, it's right. If one comes up as red, that's a great indicator that maybe you should go check that one because it might not be valid. So, and then when you click that wizard or whatever, it'll come up and I think all of them, regardless of whether you're running the validator or not, there's a wizard button next to all of the authorities. And you can click on that and you can go out and you can actually see a full mark authority record for that heading. So I use this one as an example because there's a lot of caveats with authorities in Evergreen. It's something that the cataloging community at large, you know, we would really like to focus on and get some improvements in because it doesn't work like maybe your other proprietary ILSs do. So I use this one as an example because if you've never read this series, it's awesome. I love Shannon Chakraborty, but so this was one of her first books. She published it as S.A. Chakraborty, but she got super popular. So when she published her latest book, she put Shannon Chakraborty because, you know, everybody knows who she is now. But her authorized name, her 100 name here is S.A. Chakraborty, comma S.A. And then Shannon is a 400 year, which is supposed to be a trace. You know, it's supposed to be a C from trace. But in Evergreen, so the way that's supposed to work is if I did an author search, a specific author search, not a keyword search, if I did an author search for Chakraborty, comma Shannon, all of her stuff should come up because it's got a 400 field in the authority record and it's a C from trace. That unfortunately does not work in Evergreen, which is really sneaky. Because, you know, especially catalogers that have experience in other programs, you know, it's how authorities is supposed to work. The C from tracing is a key component to authorities. So it's something that we would like to get worked on. Another thing, unfortunately, that I don't know if this is official, but I have certainly seen it. From what I hear, it's not supposed to be this way, but, you know, Evergreen on the back end is supposed to convert the number 4 to FOUR, you know, or what something like that. So if you search for 4, it still brings up, you know, everything that has 4 typed out. I don't see that consistently working. So, and that's, again, those things that are supposed to work on the back end. And well, I mentioned that even though that's not really authority. But it's one of those things that doesn't work exactly like we would like it to. So what, Jennifer?
Just making a note about the 4 and 4 before I.
Okay.
Make sure to see if there's buttons.
Is there another big ick about authorities?
Doesn't have to look them up at all.
The big ick that actually, and I can tell this because there's actually a fix, is the whole, if you change your authority record. Not waiting on archive to do it on the quarterly. If you were to go in there and change your authority record, add a death date is the most common thing you would do. Just bring everybody down, but it's a simple thing to understand. If you add the death date in there, if at this point in time prior to the fix, it will not propagate and go back into all the records. If Cheryl or you changed her name and you needed to change the actual name and needed to change that 100 tag on all of your bid records, change the authority record. It's supposed to in the authority world, then change all the bid records. That was not happening in our system until Q did just came. I don't think we turned it on for you. I just made a note to look for that.
Okay.
So,
And I say that because I think we've only turned it on for one library. And I saw it this report like, oh, I think this is the first one you turn it on for. I went, what?
so if you don't know what she's referring to, when we saw King Common in 1947 dash, the dash means he's still alive. So if somebody dies, they close the date, which is they go in and if they have a date, they add one to the end. So there was a joke on AutoCAD this morning, O.J. Simpson died yesterday and someone from Amherst like closed his death date really fast. Who knows why, but they did.
Catalogers are on it.
Yeah, they're on it. But that's what we're talking about.
But even when we're changing, to be less we'll talk about it, when we're going through Library of Congress, just making final and forever changes to the actual subject headings. If you change the subject heading, it doesn't, it wasn't as simple in our catalog to just change it and then it fixed it everything.
Now, that said, that is something that Markeye, will catch for us in that quarterly update, but, with an ILS, the authority file, that's just something that, generally speaking, that's how an authority file works for each individual ILS, and it unfortunately doesn't work that way for us yet. So, any questions about that? Yeah, Heather?
When you hit the validate button, what is it checking against exactly? Your existing authority
Our
database?
existing authority database, yeah, and that's one of the main reasons why it was so important for us to get Markeye. We didn't have an authority file at all, so.
So if you hit validate and you're entering an authority that is a valid authority, but it's not yet been used in any other record, it will say it's not valid.
Correct.
Okay, until Markeye creates and
adds it in.
Okay.
I'm also glad you mentioned that too, because I had a good example, and so I hope you can follow me with what I'm saying, but, so say, sorry. So we've got a 650 of dogs with a subfield of, Ohio, subfield Cincinnati, or whatever, okay? What Evergreen does is it will say that's not valid, it's not a valid subheading because all of those three headings together are not valid. Even though each individual one is valid, you'll still get a red check mark saying this is not right, even though, because, catalogers, we want that main one is the one that we're generally looking at the most, to make sure that it's, an authorized heading. So sometimes you'll get a red one and it'll say it's not, but that's only because the whole heading together isn't authorized in our local authority file, but that doesn't mean don't go look up authorities because you still should, but you'll get used to some that, they're not authorizing right off the bat. But it's just because it's a long string of subheadings and not, just that main one. Okay, that is.
Sorry, what happens to that long string then when Markeye runs it will be added to the file or what? It won't be removed from the file, it's not wrong.
No, yeah, and I don't believe that unless LOC has authorized it with those three subheadings together.
So it'll just say, right.
It'll,
Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah. I wanted, if you have complaints. All right, guys.
We bored you for 40 minutes. Do you have any questions? I know this is like, if you don't catalog, are drooling and laying on the table, it's okay.
Now you want to.
Authorities is actually one of the most useful things, patron facing, this is how it works for patrons when they're looking up stuff. Because these are the things they're looking up, you know, they're looking up an author, they're looking up a series, they're looking up a subject. And that is why these are so important.
I do have one more note about the strings that aren't validated because it's just a different string. The Library of Congress doesn't need to authorize all of it, because they can use that and all. You can create an authority on the fly. So if you do that.
Yeah, you can add it to our authority file and it will keep that so that, if you run validate again and it happens to have that string again, then it will authorize.
I just want to make sure I'm doing things correctly. So whenever we have new items that are in the catalog that don't have valid records yet, they are all in capital letters, right?
Yes.
That tells me to pay super close attention, get in there, make sure that the dimensions are at the 300 field, et cetera.
I love it, I love
Yeah,
it.
a lot of times there are no 600s or very, very few 600s in there. So what I do is I then go into Z3950 and then I grab good authority fields from that and put it in there. Do I also need to put in the 900s that I'm overlaying a record, or am I good to just put my little individual I was here tag?
Copying and pasting,
Yes.
then that's not overlay.
But you could just as easily overlay it. I mean, unless it's more work, you have to clean more up.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
there are some times where I will take everything from, well, most things from 600 down to 100.
Yeah.
Because some of it's very rare.
And sometimes, you know, we put in on order records in our system. And we order, I know my library personally, we order a year out. So we might have a James Patterson group that's going to be published in February of 25, you know, and there's not enough information for us to go find subject headings, genre headings, or anything like that, even though we like to see 3 subject headings, we like to see a genre heading, and we like to see any geographic headings or anything like that. So those get put in and they're totally stripped, they're just, you know, nothing. And we can't fix them until we have that item in hand, and that's when an overlay is probably gonna be your best bet, you know, unless you want to copy and paste the whole bid record essentially. But Braden has done exactly what needs to be done, you know, you go out and you look for those subject headings, those authorized subject headings. And sometimes the best way to do that is you could go to WorldCat is free, you don't have to have an LCLC subscription. Now, you have to kind of dig to actually get the mark, to actually see the mark fields and everything like that, but there's several different ways you can get subject headings if you don't have any. Now, the hardest way, and if you've ever been to a regional training with Liz, you know that you read the synopsis or whatever and try to pick out subject headings from that, you know, you have to do that with a lot of local law. That's not easy, you know, but most traditional published stuff, you're gonna be able to eventually find them. That was a very long answer to say you're doing a great job.
Kate, what's your favorite subject heading?
I just thought of yours at,
Oh, well, it's been replaced as of today. My favorite subject heading as of like just till today was elephants as pets. What does that need to be the subject on? Like one book, but that's a subject heading, authorized subject heading. Today I was looking at things for the arts, and I showed Heather, it was arts, extraterrestrial influence. Ooh. New favorite.
Is there like a committee that sits around and says, yes, let's make that a symbol?
yeah. And if you want to get stuff added or changed, it's gonna take you 10 years.
Back in the Stone Age, they talked about catalogers cataloging catalogers when I was in college and making up these incredibly
Right.
wild subject headings,
Yeah.
but that was on paper. Some technological, and you could come up with the most bizarre stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, some subject headings are ridiculous and your patrons are never going to search for them. That's neither here nor there for us as catalogers.
I've been looking for elephants as pets for years.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Library cats is an authorized subject heading, not just libraries and cats, but library cats is all.
Also, Dewey the library cat is a name authority.
Well, these things.
Nice.
Hey, he lives with Brenda, our cataloger.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you prefer cats named?
No, it's the library cat. It's when that Robin went, this director, they had a cat in the library, and then it was better. For the cat, as it got older, for it to reside with Brett on the farm. Nice, yeah, so.
Wait, is this
it is a real thing.
is this like, it went to the farm? You went further.
Right here, right now.
Anybody have more questions?
Real ones. Anything in the chat, Steve?
No.
So I have a question for cataloging stuff. So obviously the authority email takes from Roman, but we also get the cataloging reports. I know at one point when I asked you, Liz, what I'm supposed to do with these things, and you said, we're coming out with instructions.
We are,
Okay. ...
Then we realized, you know what? We don't really like what these reports are exactly giving us, maybe we should rewrite those, so it's giving us what we want, so then when we make the directives for you, it makes sense. So I had to take a huge step backwards, but eventually we will step forward and have directions.
And those reports, we could spend 2 hours here, showing you how to do those. And I would happily help you do that if you need guidance on that, because those reports are invaluable. But yeah, we're hoping to tighten them up a little bit.
Right now, if you still wanna use any of these reports, you just look for your library.
Oh, absolutely. That's
No,
right.
absolutely.
We have been fixing some of them, but then there's some, because there's no description as to what these reports
Yes.
actually are. And so I'm like, I don't even remotely know what I'm supposed to do this. So we're just working on the ones that I.
Well, the title is pretty descriptive.
Yeah.
The title tells you what it is, like.
Yeah, but I'm not a cataloger either,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, Greek?
Yeah.
Do you have a catalog?
Yeah, I do, but he's also not a cataloger, not truly trained as a cataloger.
For the record, I've been
We're
working
all-
on your lists.
Yeah,
You're
we're all.
library guys, I'm in there playing with your lists and fixing your stuff, so.
So if you're not sure, my first like correct reference is the 07 field, that's usually where.
Yes, and that's what we're going through and fixing. Yeah.
Via Z 3950, you can search for bits, but you cannot search for authorities via like Z mark or anything.
You can pull them out of the Library of Congress, get a record and then import them.
But not just either.
No, you can import them through Vanilla, you can import one record,
Oh, okay.
but you can't search through Z 3950 within Evergreen.
Okay.
You have to go out to another utility, buy the record.
I will say
You can
that's
bring them in
something
a batch, too.
our catalogers don't do very often at all. They don't import authority records or anything like that. Not to say that we don't allow it, just it's a certain level of comfort, that kind of thing. And it's something that we might do in the future, but because we are lucky enough to have our guide as well, that does a lot of the work.
Okay, I have a community announcement, if you really like authorities, there's an authorities working group in the Evergreen community. You are more than welcome to participate in, just take the Evergreen list for future announcements.
Ew, that's not like you. I'm a cataloger and that's the correct response.
I'm actually not on that committee. There's a committee I'm not on.
That's hard pass.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our user session for this year, and I thank everyone, as near as I can tell, no one fell asleep. Good call. No, it really was my pleasure to be able to put this on and to do my part. I mean, I did a little part, everybody else did a great part in terms of getting great information to share. And thank you, Jennifer, for being with us. And I'm going to, tonight, I'm going to go back and create an archive so you can download all of the different presentations. And I'll send that out to the full list. I'll also probably do some sort of an evaluation. Those of you who came last year, know that this was grant funded, which there was a lot of evaluation. So it's not grant funded now. This is just what we do. But we do need to start looking at, evaluating it. Was it good? Was the room too cold?
Yeah.
Things of that nature. So I'll put together some sort of evaluation. You will definitely see the archive with the PowerPoint tonight. You might not see the evaluation before. We'll put it all together. Any questions? Concerns, anything for the good of the order?
Membership meeting tomorrow.
Membership meeting is tomorrow at 10, if you're in town, in this room. If you're not, we'll be online. And those on executive board at 8.
I was asked if people could sit in on the executive board, and we did the people that did last year, they sat in the
Yeah,
room.
well, I mean, I'm still learning the culture, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we send out the link every month, everybody
We
could
talk
sit in.
about you, we use the acronyms.
That's part of our area, it's like.
Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.